Shellyse TV.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh.
Hey everybody, I'm back to talk about the latest episode of This Is Us. So let's get right into this episode. Now, let's talk about the past. Now, we have Jack and Rebecca, and they kind of give us this backstory about them as children and as it relates to football. So, this whole episode revolves around football and children, okay? So, when Rebecca was young, she watched her father be so tuned into this football that he didn't pay attention to anything else. And her mother just kind of watched him watch football. It was kind of like he wanted everyone to be quiet. He didn't want to be distracted. He wasn't considerate when it came to him watching football and having a family. He wanted everybody to be quiet and his wife to do what he said and bring him his beer and, just be quiet and sit in a corner. So she made a vow that she wasn't going to be like that because she didn't understand football. And while she was sitting there watching it with Jack, she said, "You know what? Teach me football. That's what I want you to do because I'm not going to be like my mother and sit here and watch you watch football. I'm not going to do that." So he taught her football. So then it was something that they did together and she really got into it and she enjoyed it. Now, Jack's backstory was that he could watch football with his father, but once again, he had to be quiet and he couldn't make any noise. And that was the way that they kind of bonded. And he said that if he ever had kids, that he wouldn't do that. They could talk, they could laugh, they could say whatever they wanted to say and watch football with him. And so that brought up the next subject, which was children. And so she had said it twice in that one day. "Oh, I'm so glad we don't have kids. Oh, I'm so glad I don't want to have kids." Because I guess it was so much responsibility and how they were kind of burdensome and how she just loved their life the way that it was. But he got really offended by it and he just couldn't shake it. So while they're watching the Super Bowl game, he just brought it up to her again and he was like, "What do you mean, you don't want to have kids?" And she was like, "You knew when you married me that I didn't want to have children and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Well, I mean, we really didn't talk about it, but I want to have a family." And so they kind of got into it and she got up and she left and the Steelers won the Super Bowl and they were all happy, but Jack couldn't really focus on that. He was more concerned about his wife and the possibility of having kids. So eventually at the end of it, he told her, "If I have to choose between having a family or having you, I choose you." And she just told him that the reason why she didn't want to have kids was because she didn't want things to change between them. Because she loved him so much and she loved their life so much that she thought that children would disrupt it in some kind of way. And she didn't want that. And so that night they made up and they made love and she got pregnant with triplets. So fast forward to the future. And we are in Randall's house and William is still there, of course. His dad is still there. Um, Kevin is still there, and the Randall and his wife are like, "When are you going home? Because I mean, come on, you're just here taking up space. Like, don't you have a hotel room to go to or something?" And Kevin was like, "Yeah, but it's so lonely there." He's like, "It's this huge suite. I have this luxurious suite, and it's too big for me. And everything is nice and everything, but I'm there by myself and I'm lonely. And so it's better to be here around people." And so Randall was like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll use your suite." And he was like, "What?" And he said, "No, we'll go to your suite and you can stay here with the kids. You and William, y'all can just watch the girls and we're getting out of here." And so Beth, she was a little nervous and she's like, "Look, I don't really know how I feel about leaving my babies here with, a bachelor, which is Kevin, and another man who left his kid in front of a fire station. Like, I don't really know how I feel about that." But Randall was like, "No, we're going to go spend the night at the hotel. You don't worry about it. Thank you, brother, for letting us go." So they left. And before they left, Randall was like, "Call us if you need us, but don't call us." Okay. So he wanted that alone time, honey. So back at the house, it was Kevin and William and the girls. And he wanted to memorize his lines. And so he got the whole family involved to help him memorize it. And so he just kept telling William that he had like a velvet voice and he should do voiceovers and things like that. And William is just like, whatever. And the girls are there trying to help him, memorize his lines. And so they get into this discussion about death. And the girls ask him, well, what happens after you die? Because if there's no such thing as ghosts, then what happens after you die? So Kevin gives them this crazy explanation. And he says, when you die, you're dead. And that's it. I'm going to die. You're going to die. Your parents are going to die. We're all going to die. And so it scared the girls to death, right? And so he had to go back and fix it. And while he was thinking of what to go say to the girls, William came to him and talked to him. And he said, it's something that I noticed about you. You doubt yourself a lot when you shouldn't. You should be more confident in what you do. And he just gave him a really good, encouraging talk. And I thought that it was really nice to see William, kind of giving advice as well. And he gave him good advice. And so he got his wits together and he went and talked to the girls. And he shared with them something that no one knew that he did. Because William asked him, when you read the script, what did it make you think it was about? Stick to that. Be true to that, because it's like you're not really connecting with your work. You need to connect with it so that you can be great. So Kevin went upstairs and he talked to the girls and he told them that whenever he reads a script, he'll make a drawing about how it made him feel. And it was just this really beautiful way that he described, life and how all of us are connected and, what happens while we're living, this whole thing. And it made him feel better because he got to, really explain it to the girls. And it made the girls feel better because now they were comforted that, everyone is just not going to die and life is not just gloomy. Okay, so on the other end, we have Randall and his wife. And so, honey, when they got to the hotel room, he is all happy. He's like, this room is great. This is just what we needed. He was trying to act like it was their second honeymoon, honey. He was like, we're going to make love everywhere in here. And we're going to order room service. And we're going to watch movies. We just going to have a good time. He was like, girl, let's just get ready. We're going to get it in, right? And so she stops him and she's like, I'm late. And he's like, you what? Right? Here comes the baby theme again. You what? And so she said that she was late on her period. She had been feeling nauseous. The smell of food was making her sick. And so they were like, oh no. Like, you can tell that they didn't want another baby, but if they had another one, they weren't going to abort it. What do y'all think about that? Are there couples out there, like married couples, who feel like, okay, if we have another baby, we're going to terminate the pregnancy? Does that ever happen? I have no idea. If you've heard of anything like that, drop it in the comments below, because at first I was like, what are they going to do if she's pregnant? But they were just going to keep the baby, but it would just be, a little inconvenient, but they were during the whole episode, they were kind of weighing their options. They kind of were like, oh, this is the bad stuff that's going to happen if we're pregnant. And, oh, this is the good things that are going to happen. The girls are going to be happy. We'll have another baby. And Randall was like, it would be nice to have a son. They were kind of going back and forth. But they found out she wasn't pregnant and they were relieved. So let's skip over to Kate now. So in this episode, she represents the football part of it because she wants to watch the game on her own, and Toby doesn't really understand it. So Toby invites her over to watch the football game at his house, and his first mistake was he invited someone else over. See, he really didn't understand the significance of her watching the game because she wouldn't tell him why she wanted to watch the game by herself. So he just thinks, oh, you're just crazy. You just like watching football by yourself. But no, that wasn't the case. So while she was at Toby's house trying to focus and watch the game seriously, Toby kept talking and he's pausing the game, and his friend is like, what kind of TV is this? And, she can't enjoy the game. So she leaves and goes home. So Toby follows her home and he asked her, what is your deal? Like, what's your problem? So she told him that it was one of the things that she did with her father. And she got to bond with him and they had such a good time. Like, the whole family got to sit around and watch the football game every Sunday. And the Super Bowl was so important. And, it was just a way for them to bond. And so she explained that to him. And he said, well, hopefully, I'll get to watch the game one day with you and your dad. And she was like, yeah, probably. So she goes to her shelf and she gets this urn. And it's her father's remains that are in it. And so that's when she tells him that her father has passed away, but he's still there in spirit watching the game with her, and that's why it's so important. So at the end of it, they both sat down and watched the game together. So she's letting Toby in slowly and slowly, but it's good for her to kind of talk about those things and get it out there. So that was everything that happened in this episode. I really enjoyed it. What did y'all think about this episode? And what do you think is going to happen next? I have no idea. I'm just watching and just enjoying it, okay? So, if I left anything out, please drop it in the comments below. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.